Hey guys, it's Colin here from CodingTUTS and Design, and what I am going to show you today is how to make an Angry Birds wallpaper in Photoshop, and it's all from scratch except for the bird. We're going to have to use a Google image for the bird. Now I have a few shout outs to do, so I have a shout out to Tyler, a shout out to BBV, and a shout out to Adam. So let's get started to this tutorial. Let's go. We want to do File New. We want our width to be 1920, our height to be 1080, and our background contents to be transparent. Let's name this one simply Angry Birds. And let's start this tutorial. So for our gradient in the background, I'm going to choose some colors here. I want a blue, so I'm going to do A6, D0, E7. So we have a light blue, and then we want another blue, which is darker, and then we're going to go 8, 4, B6, D5. So that's a bit darker. Not much that you can tell, but you will be able to tell shortly. So click Shift on your keyboard and scroll and move your mouse down to create a nice straight gradient. Now let's go to Filter, Distort, Wave. Now the number of generators is going to be 200. The type is going to be square, and the wavelength is going to be 122. So basically drag your top bar to the max. So once you get something looking like this, but if you choose the different dimensions, you may want to change up these settings a bit. So now that we have something like this, we want to set in a polar coordinates. So let's go to Distort, Polar Coordinates, Rectangular to Polar, and click OK. Now that we have this spiraling type thing, this is now our background. Let's call it background. Okay. Create a new layer by checking the new layer box at the bottom. And for this layer, we're going to take our brush. Any brush, you want to choose a circle. Want to change the hardness to 100 and change the size to about 130. Now you can start just clicking and painting little dots for our clouds. Remember, try to make them as fluffy as possible, so create little bumps in there. Okay, now let's create another new layer, and we're going to want to do the same thing to the other side. Just create little bumps of that resemble clouds. Now once we're done, and I just want to go there. Okay. Now once we're done with our two layers, we want to duplicate each of them. Go Control J on a PC or Command J on a Mac, and you want to select the bottom layer of each of them. So layer 1, we want to go into blending options, which is double click, color overlay, change the color overlay to black. Now we go to the same thing, layer 2, we go color overlay to black. I'm going to name this Shadow. Darn it. I'm going to name this one Shadow as well. Now select your layer 1 copy. So we're going to name this Top Cloud. On your top cloud, go to Layer, New Fill Layer, choose Gradient. You want to select Use Previous Layer, and I'll just name this top cloud gradient. Now we want to make a gradient that is gray to white. You can choose any gray. I'm going to choose a gray like that. And now you can simply scroll until you see what looks good. I think that looks good, so I'm going to duplicate this layer and I'm going to drag it above layer 2 copy. Click Alt on your keyboard and click in between layer 2 copy and top cloud, so you get this icon that is two circles combining. You click and boom, there you have your two gradients for each of the clouds. Now you may be asking why we chose to color overlay the shadow, because it doesn't really do much left right now. So we're going to apply a blur. Go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and keep it at around 3.6 or 4. And for the other shadow, do the same thing, going to Blur, Gaussian Blur, 4. It's good. Now remember, depending on the sizing of your image, this could change for both. So I'm going to select our top, click Shift on your keyboard, and click the second one from the background. Click Control G on a PC, Command G on a Mac, and name the group Clouds. Okay, now we're going to want to create a sort of ground here. So let's go to our shape tool after creating a new layer. Select where you want the height of the ground to be, and the color you want is going to be the same thing as what I have here. So it's 58340A. Now let's create another layer, and we're going to paint some grass. So go to your brushes panel, and if not, you should already have this grass preset already in. If not, click here and keep checking through the brushes that you have to find it. Maybe in nature brushes or nature brushes 2. Now for the grass, I'm going to add some color. So let's go 138639. There we get a dark green. And for the light green, we want 93D794. And let's just start painting our grass on the ground here. So remember to make it as thick as possible. Now to save you all this hassle, I did include the PSD file in the description for download, so you can download the PSD and follow along much easier. Okay, so that's looking decent. I am now going to create a new layer, and let's put in some text. If you go to dafont.com, you're going to find a font that is called Feast of Flesh BB, or you can go to myfonts.com and find Feast of Flesh BB. And I'm going to change the color to white. I'm going to type in Angry Birds, change the font size to around 300, and I am going to duplicate the layer. Now on the top layer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click, go stroke, I'm going to set it to black, and I'm going to have it at about 5. Now let's go to the bottom. Double click the bottom, click stroke, check for the yellow, you want FFEA06. That's a good yellow. And we're going to set the sizing to 10 or maybe 20. Basically get it until you have a big outline. Now if that's not looking good, you can still go to stroke on the first layer and change the sizing up more. So I'm going to change the sizing up to 8. Okay, so there's your Angry Birds font. Now what we're going to do is we want to get our angry bird here flying. So I'm going to do this as quick as possible. I'm going to go to my Angry Bird. I'm just going to crop him out. I'm going to paste him in. I'm going to drag him to where I want him. And check the magic erase tool. And just delete everything you don't want. All those colors are unnecessary. And let's just remove the excess junk. Now I don't have much time left, so I'll do this as quick as possible. Duplicate the layer. On the bottom layer you want to go to Filter, Blur, Motion Blur, set it to 180 degrees or 0, and you want the distance to be about 50. Now take your move tool, still checking the bottom layer, you want to move it back to until he looks like he's flying in. Now you can also click Shift, click Control E, Command E to merge the layers and have them flying in like that. Now that's basically what you can do. You can add extra cool things with like buildings in the background, but for now that's all I got time for. I'm Connell from CodingTUTS and Design, and I'll catch you later.